Welcome back to the last daily rundown of the week with me, Dan Morfitz. Thank you for keeping it to Channel 7. Wendy Olsen and Zia Chowdhury are here. Are you ready for more of the stories of the day?
Absolutely. Sure.
Even though we've just heard that we're actually all living in a big boat.
But the boat's not sinking. The boat's okay. We're all right.
I wish we could explain this to you.
The economic arc.
But we don't have enough time. Right, the Moon Express has become the first private firm to win US approval for an unmanned mission to the moon. The 2-week mission was given the go-ahead by Federal Aviation Administration Office of Commercial Space Transportation. God, could you imagine that on a business card? The plan is to send a suitcase-sized lander to the moon in late 2017. Science experiments and some commercial cargo will also be carried on that one-way trip to the lunar surface. The Moon Express 2017 mission approval is a landmark decision by the US government for private sector commercial missions beyond Earth's orbit, says the co-founder of Moon Express. The private company is keen to explore the possibilities of actually mining on the moon. So, will we finally conquer space with the help of private business?
You'd think that this was going to be great, out there in space, exploring and bringing back wealth of knowledge to us mere mortals. And then you read what they're actually all about. And they're talking about, as you say, mining. And their initial concern is going to be about bringing back precious metals. And you think that these are prospectors who are out there, and they're the first ones who can sign up to this, get out there, and hopefully get first dibs on whatever there might be on the moon, and that just then gives a whole different flavour to
it's
the. It's
making the you hear the story and you think this is fantastic. Private companies helping out NASA, going to the moon, making a difference, and engaging scientific brains to do this, and then. Basically, the moon is the new wild, wild west. And you just expect space cowboys next to be shooting each other up there. It's privateers.
Well, it could end up with a war. I mean, I'm going to take a really strong position about this one. I'm a feminist, right? There's two kinds of feminists. And both would oppose this. But the first kind is sort of behavioral, it's all about sex lives. No. That's not me. That's called radical feminism. There's a feminism that's like structural and structuralist, and this is so wrong on so many levels of structure.
Is this because it's mining and it has some
mining,
euphemism?
It's profiteering, it's private, it doesn't have any social purpose to it. There's a whole lot of investment money going on that instead of going on something like housing or food, farming, gardening, or climate change. So as a feminist, I think we should cancel this.
To be fair, though, nations grew because of exploring.
What's fair about the way nations grew? Hold on, are you going to go through the colonial experience? Nations grew by going in a boat overseas and then putting guns into that whole culture and putting alcohol in that culture and then suppressing the people who led the culture by selling them alcohol.
But
and
it
then,
happened,
okay, you're quiet
now
and we're in charge, so we've got our forts and now we're going to take all your minerals.
But it's happened and we're here now, and that's how
it's still
the world
happening.
has progressed.
It's still happening. It's very, very macho. It's absolutely abhorrent, nasty, profiteering, capitalist imperialism.
Wow.
And we haven't learned any lessons from it, and that's
what worries me most.
That's the worrying thing, that the way we have developed is that the few have benefited at the expense of the many, and this is going to be more of the same. And it reminds you of all the sci-fi films where people are building whatever space stations, but it's all about control of people, and you'd be controlling people from there, controlling resources if there's whatever's up, technology,
whatever they're mine for, that's going to be worth a pretty penny.
Exactly, and once they've got that, and there's that. It reminds me of that film where sort of all the poor people were left on Earth, and they were all the wealthy had created this super space station where they were residing, where everything was perfect. And if there is any wealth, I imagine that's what the elite will probably be working towards in the future.
I'm trying to work out if that's a horror film or Wall-E.
No, let's have a thought exercise just for a minute. What would a non-macho economy be like? So you'd have good relationships, and you'd teach people from an early age to value all kinds of relationships and diversity, and accept and tolerate people that are different to themselves, but still have to work together with them to make things. And we can be making things. We could have crafts. People love the vintage clothes at the moment, for example. So we could actually have some new combined with some old to make vintage clothes that are all unique.
Would you be happier if this was an expedition by, say, NASA, So a government-controlled organisation going there for the benefit of mankind, like other previous Apollo missions to the moon.
Is it like you weren't listening to what I said? The economy, the society shouldn't allocate big chunks of money for investment into this sector.
No, but we have to explore. We have to go beyond frontiers.
You're just saying that. You're just trying to wind me up.
No, but we have to as a human race. We have to go beyond.
It's possible to change the human race, to give priority to getting peace and getting a peaceful way of life at all the boundaries. You have some peaceful places. I mean, I find Salford's quite peaceful, and we can sit there and have an argument in peace. But, you know, down in the Middle East, it's not. So at the boundaries, where we should be focusing our efforts.
Yeah, I think it's a question of priorities, isn't it? And if everything was perfect on Earth, then you'd think, well, now let's go and explore somewhere else. But if it's a complete and utter mess here, then to start, and resources are limited, to expend those resources on some fanciful mission out there doesn't seem to make sense at this point in time. So I would say that we need to sort things out here before we start doing that.
Okay, let's relax with the last news story of this part of the show. The internet overload has led to millions of people in the UK needing to take a digital detox. That's according to research from Ofcom. The survey found that 34% of internet users have taken a period of up to a month away from the World Wide Web. Some 59% of those surveyed also consider themselves hooked on their devices, their tablets, their phones, with a third saying that they found it difficult to disconnect. And even half said that they've spent longer online than originally intended each and every single day. The study of over 2,000 adults and 500 teenagers forms part of Ofcom's annual Communications Market Report, which assesses the state of our digital nation. So, have we become over-reliant on the internet?
Well, it's a very interesting report, and I think a lot of teachers are going to be looking closely at that one, because the schools have really keenly moved toward computerized blackboards, you know, what are called whiteboards or smart boards, and having computers in classrooms and little handhelds. So people feel more privileged if they have these objects. So I think teachers need to step back a bit themselves and have a think about how they manage time and groups, because one of the best skills you can have is to be able to work really well in a group. A group has to allow a leader to emerge for a time. You have to let that happen, and then you have to somehow be able to change leaders, or negotiate towards some other person with a better expertise for some period. And those are such subtle skills. We have to practice them.
Especially if we're over-reliant on the internet, those skills might not grow.
Yeah.
Zia, when you're in court, are you allowed the internet in the courtroom?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because only in the last few months they've introduced a digital case system where the idea is that rather than carrying around briefs, physical briefs, everything's going to be on a portal that you can access, which in theory sounds great, and you don't have to carry all the weight around, and it's supposed to be readily accessible. Because it's new, there are technical issues that need to be overcome. But the problem that many of us are finding is that now there's a system, and we can put the information on that, which means that there's almost a license to just throw emails into it, throw everything into it, and let the person who's ultimately responsible for the case in court, i.e. the barrister, let him sort it out. Because before there used to be, I would get given the information that really I needed, and it would be marked and categorised accordingly. And certainly at this stage, we're getting a lot of stuff that, tonight I'm going home to prepare 5 cases for tomorrow, but there are 20 odd emails involving those 5 cases, so I don't know how long that's going to take, but I will find that a lot of those emails I don't really need.
So it's a case of too much information, information overload.
Yeah, and I think now we're in almost a transitional period where we need to have this digital evolution, but ultimately somewhere along the line we're going to have to remember that we are not, we're not machines. We're not digital creatures. We are very much, human beings and social animals. And somebody's going to have to say, well, look, the digital takes you so far, but ultimately you can't lose sight of, the wood for the trees.
Can I ask you about your memory? Do you find that the more you use the online cases that you forget to remember the key parts of cases now?
To be honest, I don't think that it's because of the online cases. I think the memory is just, I found when I started the job over 20 years ago that my memory changed, because you were used to just getting mastery of a certain set of facts, but once the case is over, just completely flushing that out of the system, because you've got to get the next lot in, and this is almost a daily thing. And so what I found is
really good at forgetting.
Great short-term memory, but I couldn't tell you what I did yesterday.
So just because you could have all the information at your fingertips doesn't mean that you should.
Absolutely, and I do think, I mean, I'm no expert on this, but some of the issues with dementia and Alzheimer's, and you hear people saying that, is there a connection between the information overload and the amount of information, the way it's processed, and these manifestations in later years? And that's something, as I say, there's no proof of that, but it's certainly a concern that I have.
Yeah.
Wendy,
I'm having 2 days a week off, so I leave my phone at home.
Detox.
Well, it's not complete, but I leave the phone at home. So my Facebook addiction is on the actual mobile. So just the news, and the Facebook, and then the
Checking it every
commentaries
5
on
minutes.
the news.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
we supposedly check Facebook 50 times a day at least.
Yeah. No, that's why I liked this report, because if you go in this report, you can kind of see where you are on the scale. And I come out very high on the scale. So 2 days a week, I just don't bring the phone.
So
Thursdays and Sundays.
I think what we're calling for is, rather than a digital detox, but a digital balance, and realising that it's a tool that we run, not a tool that runs us.
Yeah. You still have to know how to drive, in particular. I'm so amazed at people that don't know where anything is anymore, and they just put the sat nav on. I think that's a really bad tendency.
I don't like that
need
with
to know,
taxi drivers.
Yeah, how
When
to
taxi
drive,
drivers
and how
put
to
sat nav on, I'm going, hang on, I could have done this. Why are you setting up a sat nav? That's not right.
You hear all these bizarre tales of people driving into lakes because the sat nav said turn left, but you didn't see the lake.
Yeah.
God, could you imagine that
Throughway.
meter going? That'd be the taxi ride from hell. Right, that's all we have time for in this part of a show. In a few minutes' time, Zia and Wendy will get their something to say. But next, we talk to urban forager David Winnard. You're watching the Daily Rundown. Keep it, Channel 7.